Welcome back to Realty TV. I'm Landon Bellum here with RE/MAX Professionals, and we've got a great episode for you. We're going to be talking about how to win a bidding war. This is something, even though it's kind of a slower market right now in terms of the amount of buyers out there, this is still very prominent in every market, any market that you're in, when you as a buyer have to compete with other buyers that want the same home. So we're going to be breaking that down with the guests that we have today. So I guess let's just get started on it. So today we have Brandon here with us. He's a fellow agent of mine on the Griffith Home Team. Brandon, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your experience in real estate? And
Sure.
And then we'll get into it.
Yeah. So I'm a realtor with the Griffith Home Team. I've been doing this since 2019. So I guess this is my 6th year in real estate. I enjoy it a lot. The reason I got into this business is working with people, just having a different schedule every day and really being able to be out in the field, helping people, seeing that your work makes a difference in people achieving that dream of home ownership. And so love what I do and excited to chat with you today.
Yeah. And you have what's unique to, I think, not a lot of realtors don't have this, where you've actually practiced in a couple different states.
Yeah.
And what was it? Wisconsin
first? Before. Yeah. Started my career in Wisconsin and then because we were living there at the time and then decided to move back to Colorado where we had lived previously for personal reasons. But yeah, I've seen the industry in 2 different states and things are very different the way they work state to state.
And I bet you pick up some things that are maybe part of the real estate culture over there that are helpful to bring over here that maybe some of us don't do. So,
for sure. There's been a number of things that I've implemented from Wisconsin that like agents here are like, oh, I never thought about that. Like, Can you do that? Like, that's actually a really good idea. And I was like, that was standard practice there. Yeah. No one's ever done it here, but like it's actually benefited me quite a bit. So it's awesome. It's a unique perspective for sure.
That's great. Yeah. And that's what it's all about, is different perspectives and different experiences can lead to a whole lot of success. So, well, great. Well, before we get into the topic of bidding wars, just wanted to always give a teaser for the last segment of the episode, which is the Houses of Horror segment. And that's where each of us will kind of go through one of our nightmare, real estate stories that we've experienced. So mine is going to be, just as a teaser, how I was showing a family a home and opened up the backyard to a graveyard. So it's actually literally a horror story in a way because it was a graveyard. They don't have to be necessarily like that. But what about you? Have a little teaser for yours or a little?
Mine is just one of those ones where I feel like everyone's probably experienced this if you've ever searched for a new home. The pictures were just ultimately very misleading to what you saw in person. Yeah. Like you wouldn't have thought it was the same home that you saw online when you stepped foot in this home. So I'll get more into it later.
Nice. Great. Well, we'll go ahead and save that for the end. So stay tuned there. But let's just go ahead and jump into it. So the way that I've structured kind of the outline of what we'll be talking about is obviously how to win a bidding war, how to come out on top. And the way that I broke it down is kind of 3 different sections. And this is the way that I see it. We can kind of go into this and we'll expand as we discuss. I'm sure there's probably other things that we can unpack that's not just 3 elements. But the way that I see it is whenever you send an offer to somebody, you're representing a buyer, and the buyer sends an offer in to purchase a property. Every offer has 3 different pieces to it that can be appealing or not appealing to a seller. And the way that I break that down is price, terms, and timing. And so we're going to get into each of these sections and break down how you can utilize price, terms, and timing to make your offer better and stand out and ultimately get chosen when it's being sent alongside 3 others, 4 others, 5 others. It depends on the situation, or even just against one other. So we'll go ahead and just start off with price. So obviously, this one's kind of the more obvious one, but what are your thoughts about price? Let's say that you're representing a buyer and you talk to the listing agent and say, hey, we're interested. We like the home. I think we're going to be putting an offer. And they say, great. We have 2 offers in right now and another party as well alongside you that is interested in submitting an offer as well.
Yeah.
Where do you go from there in terms of price?
Yeah. So price is obviously very important, but it's not everything. And so I've been in situations, and I'm sure a lot of agents have, where you might ultimately win the house for your client and you're not the best price. Price is really important, but the first thing that I'm going to do is talk to that listing agent and find out as much information as I can about that offer. So will they tell me the price? Will they tell me the terms, the timeline, all those things? Because everything's going to factor in. At the end of the day, it depends on the seller's situation. Like, money might be ultimately the most important thing. And so their bottom dollar might be all that matters to them, is what they're going to walk away with, in which case, the price is going to be one of the most important things. There's other things that are going to factor into that, though. A longer closing is going to net those sellers less than a quicker closing.
Sure.
But it just depends on the seller's motivation. So is it money that they're most motivated by? Could it be their timing? Could it be more of a surefire thing, less contingencies in the offer. So getting as much information as I can. But then, I mean, when you're talking about price, if you do find out that price is, one of the most important things to the sellers, the thing I typically recommend with my buyers is if we are going to compete mostly on price, we want to be the best price, figuring out how much we need to be the best price by. Is it $1,000? Is it $5,000? Because if you're talking about two similar offers, okay, maybe $1,000, difference is enough to get them to take our offer. But if we're competing against a cash offer or a quicker close, maybe we need to go up to a $5,000.
Maybe even more.
Yeah. So I'm getting all that information and then figuring out how much do we need to be the best offer by. I don't want to waste my client's money, but I don't want them to miss out on this home too.
That's exactly right. And I think the first thing that you said, which is unique, and I think only seasoned and the best of the best agents do that, which is, okay, there's multiple offers. Thank you, listing agent. Tell me more about them. Right. And I think some people be like, press them because, and the most important question I think you can ask is what is important to your seller? And sometimes they'll come back and just say, well, the most important thing to my seller is price. Everything else, it doesn't matter, timing, terms, it doesn't matter. They are just very price sensitive. But knowing that now, now you can say, okay, the rest of the offer doesn't matter. We don't need to sweeten it up in other areas. We need to get competitive on price. So the question that I usually follow up after I ask that one is, okay, well, the offers that you have in hand right now, are they at your asking price? And I kind of leave it like that. And then you can kind of see where they're at. And then I think some of the really, really good listing agents out there say, hey, I haven't been given permission by my sellers to disclose anything besides how many offers we have. And in that case, that puts us as the buyer's agents in a tricky spot. But sometimes when you get a listing agent that might slip up a little bit, they'll say, well, to be honest with you, it's under our asking price. To be honest with you, one of them is really under our asking price. And then all of a sudden, okay, well, you have two offers in hand, but one is really under your asking price. So I'm only competing with one. And then now you can kind of change your strategy instead of, are we competing with two really good offers? No. So the more questions that you can ask in just that preliminary stage, I think goes a long way, would you say?
It does not hurt to ask those questions. The worst thing that's going to do, the listing agent might just say, hey, I can't give you that information. Just write your best offer and that's fine. But you'd be surprised, I think, by how many agents will disclose a lot of stuff. I mean, I've gotten the exact number of the other offers many times. And this is one thing, going back to my experience in a different state, this would have never happened in Wisconsin. Like the listing agents, it's just not practice there to share any information. They would not give you a ballpark, a number. They would not give you anything. Here, I mean, there are a lot of agents who will disclose that information. And so that's, the more information,
without their seller's permission too.
I think absolutely without their, I don't know that, but it seems like how quickly they respond back. And then I know exactly, okay, if that's their price, here's where we need to be on the price. And sometimes I can get the terms out of the listing agent and I can just basically create the offer that's slightly better. And, it stinks for that other buyer's agent who didn't have all that information, but by me asking I'm here to represent my buyers and do the best I can.
That's
for
all
them,
that matters. So. They're the number one. Their interests are above even our own interests, right? So that's what's important. And so some questions. And that's why I think the first part about this first element of how to win a bidding war is you got to have an experienced professional buyer's agent. Yeah, it's important. Like, this is money on the line. This is a massive investment for you. You're about to spend a ton of money on purchasing a house. And one misstep, one miscalculation can either lose you the house entirely. Now you're back to the drawing board. You lost the dream home that you wanted to buy. Right. Or two, you way overspend. Or you're out a ton of money. And so maybe you have a cousin or, someone, a part-time friend who does it kind of here and there. But this is why, both on the listing and the buying side, you got to have someone that really knows what you're doing. And the questions to ask: how many offers do you have in hand? Okay. Are they at your asking price? Okay. Now, wow, I know a ton now. Yeah. Okay. Are they also asking for concessions on top of that? Or what are the terms? Are they cash offers? And then all of a sudden you get everything that you need to know to now structure the deal in a way that you can compete and win it. So I think the first step is really, you gotta be working with a pro. Yeah. When there's, if we're talking about 15, 20 offers on the table, the agents who know what they're doing and you can ask the right questions to the listing agent, craft the right offer. I mean, those are the ones who are going to be considered in that top 3 or 4 offers. If you're working with an agent who maybe isn't as experienced or doesn't know what they're doing, they're not getting the right information from you for the listing agent. They're not even asking the listing agent how many other offers there are. They're just blindly telling their buyers, hey, what do you guys want to pay for this home? Okay, great. Let's write this offer. Let's submit it. I mean, they're not going to be considered. So you got to be working with someone who knows what they're doing. And I think that's a cardinal mistake there where, if your buyer's agent asks you, okay, well, what's your top dollar for the home? It's like, they might be looking out for their own interests. I think that's an important question because you don't want to accidentally have your buyers overspend what they're not comfortable spending. You need to know that. But if that's the only piece of criteria, like, hey, just so you know, we're in a competitive situation here and there's 3 other offers, what's the highest you can go? And let's just throw it at them. There's so much, it's so much deeper than that.
Yeah.
Because again, you want to win it, you want to beat them, but you don't want to overspend. And even if you get it, you don't want to overspend. How can you find that margin where you win it, but you're not 15, 20K over winning it?
When you're talking about price and you're looking at a bidding war, a multiple offer situation, the one question I always ask all of my buyers is, where are you guys, like, where's your line of what you're comfortable at, where you want to get this home? You'd be so happy you got this home. And then where's that line that, like, okay, if you get it and now you have buyer's remorse and you're like, well, shoot, we regret that. We paid too much. Don't put yourself in that situation. Don't go that high. But if we know that there's 10 offers on the table and this is probably going to take everything you're willing to do, don't sell yourself short. If you miss out by $5,000 and you lose sleep and you're like, why didn't we just offer the $5,000 more? Don't sell yourself short. If you know it's going to go up that high in price, like, put yourself at that comfort level. And I ask people, like, where is that for you guys? And then we kind of hone in on a number from there.
That's a great thing to ask.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, if you look at the numbers, $5,000, $10,000, even $15,000 spread out over a 30-year mortgage, I mean, it might
just be like your coffee a day.
Yeah, it might be $15, $20 a month difference. And to you, to get this home that you love, that's different than all the other ones you've seen, that might be worth it. So those are the conversations you need to have as a buyer with the agent and make sure that you're on the same page. But at the same time, kind of along the same lines of, number one, if you want to win out on price, you got to have a seasoned pro here representing you as your buyer's agent, because what I do, the next thing that I do is I run comps on the property. So I go in and and what that means is running comparable properties. What is active in the neighborhood that's at the same size, same bedrooms, bathrooms, similar finishes, what has closed in the last 90, 180 days, depending on the market. I look at the comps because I was just actually helping a client recently purchase a home, and we've been looking for months, for a long time, for the right fit. And we found a home that was perfect, cul-de-sac, trail, perfectly finished, the great floor plan that she was looking for. And it got to the point where I called and said, hey, we're going to draft up an offer. And she's like, cool, I've got 2 other ones already, just so you know. She wouldn't tell me anything else besides that. And so I needed to look and see, okay, if we have the ability, this is not at the top end of our budget. We have the ability to go up financially, my buyer does, but I don't want her to overspend and get in a tricky situation where she does get to the top of her budget. So I ran the comps on that property and I saw, that's why there's 2, 3 offers right now, because it's priced $25,000 below where it should be. It's priced very low. So it was a strategy that they implemented to just get it sold quickly and get it bid up. And so we went up like 20, 30K on it. And unfortunately, we still lost that one because of one of the next sections we'll talk about, because of the terms and the timing. We couldn't be competitive because my buyer had a home that she needed to sell first. She couldn't compete with a cash offer.
Yeah.
She didn't have great timing. She had to get that home sold first. So anyways, running comps, I think, is important because that let me know, well, no, we are totally fine going up 25, 30K on this because it's priced 25, 30K below what it really should be.
That's something I talk to my buyers about too, because they put a lot of stake in that list price, and they're like, there's a lot of buyers out there who they won't offer more than the list price. Like that's just a rule in their head. They're like, well, it's not worth that or whatever. And what I tell them is the list price is not the market value of that home.
No.
That's just one person or 2 people, the agent and the seller is like, hey, here's what we want for our home. Here's what we want to list it at. It's not necessarily what that home is worth. So pulling the comps, same thing. I do that with all the homes that my buyers are considering to figure out, is it overpriced, underpriced? Because you can have 2 identical homes. One's listed at, let's say, $700,000, and an identical home, neighborhood, everything's the same, is listed for $650,000. And you're like, well, why is this? Well, maybe the one's $50,000 overpriced or the one's $50,000 underpriced. So don't put too much stake in that list price when you're searching, because they could be off on their value. That home could very well be going for $50,000 over or $50,000 under. You got to pull those comps. You got to see what else has sold in that neighborhood that's got the similar square footage, all the specs and stuff, and kind of figure out what the market value is before you craft that offer.
Yeah, that's really well said, because ultimately, it is subjective. Listing prices are subjective.
Super subjective.
It's the market that determines the price. That's the biggest thing when I'm helping a seller price a home. Is the most important thing is who determines the price. It's not you, it's not me. We'll determine a list price, but the sale price is determined by the market. Yeah. And so,
and the market is the buyers. It's what the buyers are willing to pay for. So, a lot of people were saying during that tough market we had a couple of years ago where everything was selling for, a lot of places 50, 100 grand over. And, I'd hear people say it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Well, it's worth what people are willing to pay. And when there's 10 offers on the table and they're all 100 grand over the list price,
it's worth it.
That's the market value. If 10 people are willing to pay it, like the market is
There's something about it. Now, exactly. 100%. So one thing that I like to implement, we're talking about price here, is sometimes you can get away with putting in an escalation clause into the contract. Not every time, and I'll explain why. But basically, an escalation clause, for those of you who might not know, is you can say, hey, here's the price that we're going to pay for this home. Let's call it $700,000. And then at the bottom of the offer, it says, we are actually willing to go up to $720,000. We will escalate $5,000 above. Anybody else who comes above our initial offer of $700,000, we will beat them by 5. Someone comes in at 705, our offer automatically escalates to 710. Someone beats us at 710, we automatically escalate to 715. So that's a way that you can, in a lot of situations, bake that clause into the contract to keep yourself protected, to where, again, maybe you're not sure on the comps or the value's a little bit, it's like, we're not too sure. We're willing to pay this much, but we don't want to if we don't have to. Well, okay, great. Let's put in an escalation clause to utilize that to help us win out, but not overpay if we don't have to. Or the times where I really like to put in the escalation clauses is when I'm the first offer in and I hear talk that there's 3 other interested parties that haven't offered yet. I don't want to be the first offer in and have this be one of the listing agents that said, oh yeah, this person came in right at 700. And then someone's like, okay, we'll do 705 and beat them. It can protect you if you're the first person in too. So do you utilize them much?
I do. I pretty much only use them when there's multiple offer scenarios. And so if we're in a market where the listing agent has set a deadline of, we're not going to look at offers until Tuesday, everything needs to be in by Monday at 8 p.m. or whatever, I'm typically waiting until that deadline to call the listing agent. Well, I'll call them first, but then I'll call them again and figure out how many offers they have, figure out if I need an escalation clause or not. But if there's multiple
So you haven't submitted your offer yet. You're waiting to be one of the last ones.
If there's an offer deadline of like, hey, everything needs to be in by Monday at 8 p.m. We're not going to review until Tuesday morning. I will wait to submit our offer until that deadline to call the listing agent one more time at 7:30 and be like, how many offers do you have? What are the prices? Get as much information as I can. I want to be the last offer in because I want to be the best offer, but not by a mile to where we're overshooting ourselves, you know?
No, I like it. I think that's a good strategy. And then, okay, do we need to resubmit, or do we need to submit a little bit different than what our strategy was? 2 more came in that we weren't expecting.
But I'll use the escalation clause, especially if the listing agent won't tell me like prices of the other offers and I don't know just how high this is going. I'll say, okay, buyers, let's start our offer here where you're comfortable, and then how high are you willing to go for this home? We'll escalate up to that high. How high we want to beat other offers by, or what buffer amount we want to beat offers by. Anywhere from, $1,000 to $5,000 is fairly typical in my mind. And if we know that there's like a cash offer on the table and they have a financing, okay, we need to be at that 5,000. Maybe we even consider 10,000, beating other offers by 10,000. If we know the 2 offers are very, very similar, I'm probably going to say, hey, maybe like 2,000, 2,500. You just don't want to leave it up to chance, like if you have an offer that's $1,000 different and they like the names on this one more or whatever, there was a love letter or something like, you don't want to lose it over $1,000. So I usually, depending on the situation, it could be 2,000.
And I think it's price dependent too. If you're doing offers in the $1 million plus range, your escalation clause might be more like 15,000 to beat it.
To make kind of a percentages game.
But if it's in like, I remember doing some, condos, 1-bed, 1-bath condos, and we were in the 200,000 mark. And so those were more like 2,500, 1,000, just enough to move the needle. So I will say that it is very common. A lot of agents say no escalation clauses. Don't want to see them. Gets too messy. Don't want them. So in those cases, don't put them in, because you don't want to just openly go against what they're requesting right off the bat. That's not a good look.
So. That, and you don't want to confuse them. There's some listing agents out there, who, if they don't understand them and you submit an offer with an escalation clause, the right thing they should do is learn about it, present the offer to their sellers and understand it. But a lot of them won't. They're like, this offer is just too complicated. It's confusing. They're going to tell their sellers, hey, sellers, this offer's got some weird language in there. I don't understand it. Let's not consider it. So you don't, you don't want to confuse them. If they're not comfortable with it, you probably don't want to do it. You want to just figure out the price that you're comfortable at.
And I'll be honest, as a listing agent, I do that a lot too, where it's like, hey, we just want your highest and best. Just send me, and then you leave that level of unpredictability there. People can't really get a feel for where things are at, and then sometimes they'll pay more than where they would have if they had more information. So it all depends, but I think in general, escalation clauses are a good way in terms of the price to beef your offer up, not overpay, but give yourself a little more certainty that you'll win it out in terms of the
I
price.
like them.
So, okay, well, I think that kind of covers that first section in terms of you're putting an offer together, you're in a bidding war, and you got to win. And so the first element to that is price. Where are you at? So I think that covers that section. Now, the second element to an offer that I typically advise my buyers is terms. So what terms can we put into the offer? What can we do to tweak this to make it more appealing to the seller? So the first thing that comes to my mind, again, if I'm in a multiple offer situation or my buyers are going to offer and there's talk of other interested parties, one of the first ones that I go to is an inspection provision. And this can take form in a whole lot of ways, but what I like to do here is just the simple one that I resort to a lot is, hey, we are only, if any, going to ask you to address major health, safety, and deferred maintenance items as part of the inspection phase. And that way, just with the verbiage within the contract, you're just assuring the seller of, hey, we're not here to just send you a laundry list of things to do in the inspection report. Nothing small, nothing cosmetic. We're not going to bug you about it. We just, like, if there's something serious like a sewer line issue or a roof issue, we're going to ask you to take care of that, as any other buyer would. But we're not going to bug you about the small stuff. And I found in a lot of situations, putting that provision in there beefs up the terms of your contract. And maybe you're not quite as competitive on price as others, but you're reassuring the seller that we're not here to bug you. You go with us and this is going to be a smooth, efficient ride.
Yeah. So the terms can be, like I said, as important as the price. They can be more important than the price. I mean, it just depends on the sellers.
Back to that idea of ask what the seller cares about.
Yeah. So inspection, financing, and appraisal. But for the inspection, that is, I do a similar thing. If the buyers are comfortable with it, if the home's in good condition, whatever, if there's things they're willing to forego, what you talked about with the health and safety, like, hey, we're only going to ask for things that might be related to health and safety. I've done that before. One that I kind of like even more than that, and this is something I took from my days as a realtor in Wisconsin and brought here, and I have not seen many other agents or any other agents who are doing it here, is putting a dollar amount on what we're willing to negotiate on. So it's, okay, let's say we're going to give the sellers maybe $2,500 free of the first issues with the home. So the first $2,500 that come up with this home, and this is all subject to, like, if we need to get quotes or rough bids for things. But let's say the inspection report comes back. There's 7 major items on it that these buyers would want taken care of. And we have a rough figure that those 7 items are going to total up to $5,000.
That's fair game. We're going to ask.
So what we're going to say is, like, sometimes in the offer, we'll say, okay, the first $2,500, we're not going to ask anything for. We'll take that, we'll pay for that difference, that $2,500 up to that $5,000 worth of issues that we have. Those are the things that we'll ask you to fix. So we're going to kind of cap it at that $2,500.
And
those numbers are just hypothetical.
I like that because you got a fixed number in the contract.
Exactly.
And you will have to show.
I think it's a little less subjective than the health and safety, because some people will be like, well, is that health and safety? And this, your only subjectivity here is, what do these items cost to fix? And then if we do get into argument with the two sides, we can get a quote from a professional.
Is it over $2,500 or not? If it is, then we can ask you. If it's not, then we can't. And we're going to have to eat that cost. And you're right. It is the first thing that I said is it's very subjective, which is also why I like it, because if
you can play it in your favor,
you can play it in your favor, because you can say, a lot of things, if not most things in the inspection report is pinged because it's a health or safety issue. Right. But I've had moments where the listing agent comes back with that verbiage and says, we don't care about this verbiage at all because we know it's totally subjective to your opinion, not ours. So that's where putting that dollar amount in there, saying, hey, well, fine, let's do this. We're not going to bug you about anything unless it's more than $5,000 worth.
I think it's probably a little bit more competitive to do it this way. Like, this is going to work better for the sellers maybe than it is for the buyers. But if you're in that competitive situation, putting that dollar amount on there is going to make the sellers understand, okay, we're not getting nickel and dimed, like, they are going to pay for X amount. And only if there's a $5,000 plus issue with this home are we going to have to pay anything out of pocket,
Exactly. So again, going back to it, putting an inspection provision, because the number one biggest, most common way for a contract to fall through is during that inspection phase. That is where that's where a ton of more costs and issues can get racked up. That's where the contract can fall through, and now you're back on the market looking really bad because you were pending and now you're not. That's where the sellers have their most concerns typically. So if you can find a way to ease that and make it and ensure them that if you choose us over the other 3 offers, it's going to be smooth. We're not going to bug you.
The greatest likelihood of closing is what it all comes down to. I mean, other than the price, it's what gives us the greatest likelihood of closing. And the fewer contingencies you have in there, the better for the seller. So,
right.
So if you can mitigate some of that inspection contingency, you're going to look better to those sellers.
Way better. 100%. And then the next one that it kind of leads into is appraisal.
Yep.
You can do appraisal provisions as well, which is very helpful when you're going above ask. Because in this moment, the listing agent comes back and says, well, great, thanks. We appreciate your offer, $30,000 over our asking price. That's
but we don't think it's going to appraise there.
But what if it doesn't appraise there? And now we have an appraisal gap issue where your lender is going to require that either we come down in our price or that you bring more money to the table. And who's going to cover that, right?
Right.
So in that case, you can put an appraisal provision where, and I've done this many times, where it's like, okay, well, you're right. We are coming in above your asking price. We want to win this out. There's 3 other offers you can choose from. You want to work with us. Let's put an appraisal provision here that says that between this amount and this amount, if the home doesn't appraise, we will take care of it. And we're not going to bug you about it. So,
yeah. And that's, I mean, again, there's so many things you can do in these competitive situations. The appraisal gap or the appraisal coverage is one of them. Yep. During that tough market, 2020 to 2022, I think probably 90% of the offers I wrote had all these things. They had the inspection language, they had the appraisal language. And with that appraisal language, something that you really have to talk to your buyers about what it means, because let's say you are in your situation, you're going $30,000 above the list price. You put in a $30,000 appraisal gap coverage. Some buyers think, oh, that means I have to pay like $30,000 more for this home if it appraises low. That's not the case. You're still paying your offer price, what you originally offered for the home. Yep. It's just that the lender is not going to want to write you a loan based on the contract price. They're going to write you the loan based on the appraised value. So if it appraised for $970 and you offered $1 million, they're writing you that loan based off $970. You're still paying $1 million, but now you just have to bring a little bit more to the table in the form of a down payment, and you'll take that amount off the financed amount.
Yep.
So you're still paying the same amount for the home. It's just that you're putting a little more down, and you're financing a little bit less. So your payment will actually kind of go down, but you got to have that cash to bring to the table at closing.
Exactly. So if you have the ability to, if you have a flexible down payment, it's actually not that big of a deal. Now, if you're a first-time home buyer and you only have the bare minimum 3% down,
it might not be an option.
You might not have that option. So that's where, again, you need to have a real true buyer's agent professional who can ask the right questions, understand your situation through and through, and not put in appraisal gap coverage provision when you can't win the offer, when you can't afford it.
If you can't afford it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, imagine that scenario. You're a buyer and your agent tells you, hey, do this. Okay, great. That sounds great. I'll do that. I'll win the home. Only to go under contract and realize you don't have the funds to now purchase this home and you need to break this contract. And, you've already paid $500 for an inspection and you paid $700 for an appraisal and you're out that $1,200 because your agent didn't do their due diligence to make sure you were capable of doing all these things you wrote in your offer.
Exactly. Yep. 100%. So I mean, inspection, appraisal, those are 2 big ones, really big terms in the contract that if you can put provisions or waive in one way or another, you're going to look really good. And depending on the condition of the house, for the inspection, for example, you can even say, hey, we'll buy it as is. Yeah. We'll still do an inspection, but we will not, per the contract, be able to ask you for any changes or modifications. That is ultimately, I mean, top tier right there, because now you know.
Well, I'll take it one step further. I mean, you can write it that you won't do an inspection.
True.
I mean,
we won't even do one.
I mean, that was the thing. Again, 2020 to 2022, a lot of contracts, they weren't even doing them, and they'd put in their contract, we don't even have the right to do an inspection. I mean, some people would do this, and some people might have gotten bit in the butt, but for some people, that's what ended up winning them the home.
That's what did it. Wow, you're not even going to do an inspection? I don't even have to worry about it? Sure. Right. No inspection termination at all? Again, coming back to the idea of what contingencies can you waive? What contingencies, if you can't waive, can you alter or put provisions in to make it sweet?
It's all about the situation. I mean, just figuring out how competitive you need to be or not be.
Yeah. And now getting into another one here, that's in terms of the contract. What are you going to do? Is this a cash offer or is it financed? If it's financed, are you putting 20% down or is it 3% down? Sellers look at
There's a difference. I mean,
there is. Sellers look. I got an offer this weekend on one of my listings it's been sitting for a while, and the sellers, quite frankly, they are pretty motivated, but they looked at the offer and said, they're taking out a $700,000 loan in this rate market. And, I don't know, is that, and so it wasn't, it was just concerning to them because they're like, what if we run into financing contingencies later on where they can't get through underwriting, or the sellers don't, or the buyers rather, don't like their monthly payment now that they've got it firm and fixed and locked in their rate. And So, obviously cash is king, and we say that for a reason, because when you have a cash offer, it waives all the financing contingencies.
And the appraisal.
And the appraisal. So you just, 5 different ways that a buyer could back out are now just gone.
Right.
So that's why cash is nice. But if you do have to finance, what can you do? Can you put more money on the table?
Yeah.
As a down payment to ensure those sellers that you are financially good? Can you do a preliminary underwriting or something, even though you're putting less money down, just to show that you are, your situation's clean and crisp? So.
Yeah, so I mean, down payment matters, like you said, to sellers. If everything else is equal in an offer and one's got a 20% down payment and one's got a 3% down payment, they're going to choose that 20% down payment because they know that those buyers have more liquid funds should something come up along the way, like with the inspection, and the sellers want the buyers to pay for it. The buyers who have 20% available to them have more leeway to cover those things and pay for those things than the buyers who have 3% for the down payment. So the higher your down payment, the more likelihood you have of getting your offer accepted. Even if you can go up to 50%. I mean, I've seen some people who do 50%, 75% down and just get a really small mortgage. It's still not as good as cash, but it's better than those 3%, 5% down.
You just the point is just waiving concerns. How can we make this seller less concerned about accepting our offer and show more guarantees of getting them to the closing?
And being pre-approved with a good lender, not just an online one that you did in 2 minutes. You literally put your name in and your address and it tells you what you're pre-approved for. That's not a good pre-approval. You want someone who's looking at your pay stubs, your W-2s, your tax returns, all this stuff, and actually putting you through their underwriting system, pre-approving you with someone who's a good, reputable lender. You submit that lender letter with your offer. That's going to make those sellers feel good. Oh, hey, I know that person. They've got a good reputation in our industry. They've got, they're pre-approved. They've got this good down payment. That's a lot different than someone who's just submitting some online, 2-second pre-approval thing.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because at the Griffith Home Team, we actually have an in-house mortgage broker, Griffith Home Team Mortgage, Zach Dieter. We're going to have him on the pod here soon talking about some great things. But one thing that I love that he'll do anytime is you submit that offer, you submit the pre-approval letter with it, and he's like, Landon, you give me the number of the listing agent and I will call them and reassure them and tell them we are solid. And that goes a long way to just make them feel good.
Oh yeah.
Wow, this lender called me and he told me about their situation financially. They're in good shape. They've already been pre-approved. He's seen this, this, and this. He's pulled their credit, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just, a lot of reassurance is there.
Yeah. Yeah, the lender is huge. Who you're working with can make a big difference. And having a lender that's willing to call the listing agent, like you said, it's something I do. Zach Dieter with GHC Mortgage, he does it on his own. But like, if I'm working with a different lender, I'll shoot them a text and be like, hey, we just submitted this offer. Here's the details. Do you mind calling the listing agent and just verifying the buyer's, credit worthiness or whatever for us? It goes a long way. A lot of listing agents want to talk to, the offers they're considering. They want to talk to those buyers and lenders and just find out, hey, have they been approved? What is their situation? I don't want my sellers to get in a situation where we accept an offer and then you guys realize these buyers aren't approved for this loan or this purchase price or something. So having a lender that's good, available nights and weekends, because a lot of times we're submitting these offers, it is on nights and weekends. If you're working with certain banks, it's only 9 to 5. So you want to make sure the lender you're working with is available and that they're willing to kind of work for you and call that listing agent and just give them the info they need.
Yeah, just make it as bulletproof as possible.
So, it's like a 60-second phone call probably. Hey, these buyers are great. Here's their jobs. They, their income's great. I have no concerns of them closing this loan.
And all of a sudden, the listing agent's like, well, this is a financed offer, and it's bulletproof. It's good. We're all set. No worries.
Right.
So, and I guess one other thing, just in terms of, again, the terms of a contract here that we're talking about regarding earnest money. Earnest money is that deposit that you put down, showing the sellers that you have skin in the game. And I'll be honest, the way that the contracts are written in Colorado are very favorable towards the buyer.
Very much.
There are so many contingencies where a buyer could put down $10,000 of a deposit and have skin in the game, but there are, a dozen contingencies that a buyer could tap into and use to get it refunded 100%, no questions asked. So a couple things that you can do with earnest money is you can double it, whatever they're asking. Give them more, double it, or give them another $3,000 or whatever the price point is. You can say, well, you're asking for $10,000 of my deposit, the skin in the game, we'll give you 20 or 15, or if it's 5, we'll give you 7. Just things to just show, hey, we want this and we will put more money on the line for it. And another thing that you can do that I've found to be successful is you can put in a hard earnest money deadline. By 7 days before closing, our earnest money goes hard. And if for some reason we have to terminate, I lose my job, etc., you get our money. Kind of thing. And things like that show, we are turning the tables into your favor, Mr. Seller, because we want this home and we're willing to make sacrifices and put put this money really on the line.
Yeah.
So
I would say earnest money, and this is very different. So in Wisconsin, like the deals were, or the contracts were not as buyer friendly. You were very much, once you're under contract on a home in Wisconsin, that deal was going through unless something catastrophic happened. Like buyers were not just backing out because they got buyer's remorse or cold feet. The contracts were more ironclad than that. Here in Colorado, if you ask who they favor the buyer. Very much so. I mean,
incredibly so.
If you go under contract and you just decide, hey, I saw another better home, you can get out of that first deal.
It might have been a day after and you haven't even delivered Earnest money yet, and you just send a termination and there's no repercussions at all.
Yeah, it's honestly kind of crazy. So the earnest money, I tell people, like, there are so many contingencies in this offer that protect you as the buyer, to where if you no longer want to buy this home for any number of reasons, we'll get your earnest money back. So if they're asking for 10 grand earnest money and you want to throw 100 grand at them, I don't care, do it. Like, we're going to get the money back if the deal ends up falling through. The hard earnest money that you mentioned, that is something I haven't done yet. And I don't plan to do, just because, like you said, if you end up losing your job 3 days before closing, totally out of your control, and now that buyer loses that earnest money, it's not something I want to do. I think the earnest money, of all the things you can do to strengthen your offer, and there's a lot of them, I put earnest money lower on that list. I don't think it's as important to the sellers as inspection, appraisal, financing, and price are all significantly more important in my mind than the earnest money. Earnest money is like a little cherry on top. So if you want to throw some more at them, sure, but it's not like a huge...
Agreed, 100%. It's not always necessary, but if you're trying to make this ironclad and get it as good as possible, there's things that you could do there to tweak that. And sometimes I've actually had sellers and listing agents come back to me and say, hey, we're thinking about choosing you over the other 4 offers that we have. We only have 2 requests, and one of them is that, your earnest money after, 3 weeks in goes hard, so that we don't get... And if you think about it from the seller's perspective too, if you're 3 days away from closing and you had a 4 or 5 week closing and they get terminated on and have to go back on the market, in some ways it is fair for them to get compensated something for all the time they lost on market. But the contract usually protects the buyers so they don't have to lose it. But if your buyers maybe they're really financially secure and they're okay putting that money on the line, it's another way that you can maybe get on top. So
no, absolutely. Just talk to them, make sure they understand.
Make sure they get it. After this day, if there's any reason to back out,
risk.
It is at 100% at risk after the 18th, and I cannot do anything to get it back otherwise. So, well, let's move into the last portion here on how to win a bidding war, and that's timing. So we talked about the price, what you need to do price-wise to get on top. We've talked about the terms, how you can put in provisions and clauses and things to also make it even better. And then let's talk about timing. So I'd say in Colorado, the standard closing is 4 weeks. So one thing that you can do that a lot of settlers like to see is a quicker closing. 2-3 week close. If you've got a cash offer, you can most definitely do a 2 week close. I've got one right now. Just got accepted this weekend. Cash offer, 2 week close. My sellers will be out of there within 14 days. They needed that. They're already living out of state. Perfect. But not all sellers want or need a very quick close. So there's other things that we can do there. But what are your thoughts just in general on the idea of make my offer better, let's win the bidding war, timing?
So the easiest thing you can do as a buyer to win in competition is just give the sellers what they want in terms of the time, like the smaller things. We're not even talking about the price or the terms. We're just talking about their timing. Do they want a quick close, or do they want a later close? Do they want a post-closing occupancy where they can stay in the home after closing? If you're flexible as a buyer in your timeline and you can just match their timeline, that's actually usually the first conversation I have with a buyer when I know we're in competition is, can we just match the timeline that they want? Okay, great. They want a 3 week close. Are we working with a lender that's capable of closing this in 3 weeks or maybe 2.5 weeks, whatever we might need to do? Because there's some lenders out there who will be like, hey, I can't do this in less than 3 or 4 weeks.
They're self-employed. This is a complicated file.
So talking with the lender, making sure you can do the timing, but there's a lot of good lenders who, they can close finance deals in, maybe 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
Totally.
And so meeting that timeline, or the flip side of that, if they want a 2-month closing, a 60-day closing or something, hey, buyers, do you have somewhere you can stay for the next 2 months? Because this is important to these sellers. Or the post-closing occupancy, if the sellers are asking for, hey, we want to close in 30 days because we want the funds from this to go and buy a new home, but we haven't found that new home yet. So we need to stay in this home for 30 to 60 days more. So we're looking at 30-day close plus 30 to 60 days in a post-closing occupancy. Talk with the buyers, see if that timing works, and explain, hey, this means you're going to submit your down payment. You're going to close in 30 days, but you're not moving into that home for 60 to 90 days. And then are the sellers going to pay you rent? That's all up for negotiation as part of the contracts. Maybe you let them stay there for free if it's a competitive situation. There's multiple offers. If you're the only offer, figure out what you want to charge them in rent. How much is your mortgage going to be for those 2 months, and figure out what you're going to charge them.
And again, it comes down to not all buyers are going to have the luxury to do this.
No.
Some buyers are like, no, school starts and we need a home. We don't have a temporary living situation and we don't want to pay for it. So yeah, seller, I'm going to give you the best price. I'm going to give you really good terms, but timing needs to be my timing, my buyer's timelining. So if you, as a competing buyer with that guy, can say, oh yeah, maybe we don't have quite as good of a price as that guy, but we can give you 60 days to find your new home, and we'll charge it for significantly discounted or free rent for that 60 days. They might take the hit on the $15K that you're lower because timing's more important. And again, it comes
back to what's important to those sellers.
What's important? That first phone call, that first question. Hey, listing agent, what does your seller need? What's important to them? And how can I accommodate that in my offer?
Everything comes back to the communication between the agents. If you are not communicating with that listing agent, you're doing a disservice to your buyers because you're trying to craft an offer with no knowledge. It's like taking a test without studying for it. I mean, all the information is there if the listing agent will give it to you. And that's going to, like you said, do they need a post-closing occupancy? Whatever. Ask all these questions to them, and then just craft your offer, whatever the buyers are willing to do based on that information. But if you don't call that listing agent once or twice and get all this information up front, right when the buyers tell you they're interested, I mean, you're just at such a disadvantage.
And what's really, really fascinating about that, it goes back to the topic that I've harped on a couple times, where you have to have a professional. You have to have a buyer's agent that knows what they're doing, does it full time, and is experienced and well seasoned. Because I have had moments where I'm in a multiple offer situation and I have been so diligent about communicating and understanding the seller's situation. How can my buyer accommodate that? That there's been a couple times where I have not been as competitive in price. And the listing agent literally texted me and said, we decided to move forward with you guys because of you. In fact, go tell your buyers that you and your communication and your diligence was so on point and so transparent and so empathetic to what we need. We are choosing you even though you are $5,000 less. Please let your buyers know. And so it's amazing that your agent and your agent's professionalism and communication can also win you the deal.
Same.
Is awesome.
Same. I've had the exact same thing. I've been the reason those clients have gotten the home. Like you said, a number of times I've gotten that call, that text, and they're like, if your communication, like, we feel confident that you're going to get this deal done. You're on top of things, like, you know what you're doing and you're communicating with us. These other people submitted offers to us. They didn't even call me. I don't even know the name of the agent, whatever. Like, we don't feel comfortable going with them.
Exactly.
I've had that call many times, winning that deal for your clients. It's just such a basic thing you can do, communicating, but it goes such a long way. So working with an agent who, like you said, has done this before, has competed before. I mean, again, like during that market, there were times I was competing with 25, 30 other offers. And I can count on two hands. I mean, how many times I beat out 20 plus offers. Because we were, sometimes the best offer, but a lot of times because I was working the hardest as the agent, doing the communication and creating the offer that was the most appealing to the sellers.
And that's funny, that kind of getting to the end of this and this episode is recapping this is, how do you win a bidding offer? How do you get the house that you want when there are other people who want it? Number one is price. There's the elements. Number one is price. Number two is terms. Number three is timing. And I actually think I'm going to start adding a number four, which is representation. Because
who you're working with.
Who you're working with and how they communicate and everything like that. You have to be, if it's a multiple offer situation, in one way or another, you'll probably have to get somewhat competitive on price, more than you would be if you were the only one interested. You're going to probably have to sweeten the deal with terms, waive contingencies or adjust them somehow. You're going to need to accommodate the seller's timeline in one way or another so that they choose you over the others. And then you need someone to walk you through all of this. And ultimately, at the end of the day, build rapport with the listing agent and their client so that they want to choose you. Because if they don't like you and you're attending to the rest, good luck getting accepted. If they think you're
if they think you're going to be terrible to work with and you're going to be the worst transaction those sellers, that listing agent has ever done, they're gonna steer their sellers away, even if you are the best.
I have agents and I have their names in my mind that I've worked with, and it was such a terrible experience, those deals and transactions, that I will remember them. And if they write an offer on one of my listings again, I will let my sellers know that we probably don't want to accept it because they're just going to try to bully and push their way through this whole thing. So even if they've got a great price.
And I would say, I would put that that representation, number one, because the other things don't matter. If you're working with an agent who isn't doing a good job for you, who doesn't understand all those things, the price, the terms, and the timing, they're not going to know that information. They're not going to know how to advise you on the price, the terms, and the timing. And so they're just going to submit what other offer the buyer tells them to.
Yep.
And that's all moot points when that listing agent or that
100%.
buyer's agent isn't doing their job.
You're right. It should be number one. And in fact, let's just reset the cameras and just refilm this all and do it all over again.
There we go.
But
the agent's everything, man.
It's everything. It really is. It really, truly is. With all sincerity, it really is. So, well, let's go ahead and move on to the last segment of the podcast, which is the Houses of Horror segment. And just as a recap,
I don't like scary stuff now, so don't scare me too much, man. I have a low tolerance for fear, okay?
There is a couple elements. It could be scary, but it also could be just nightmare or just crazy things that we as real estate professionals have experienced, and it's always kind of fun to go into it. So I'll go ahead and start off with mine.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago when I was first getting into the industry, I was working with a lovely family. It was kind of a mixed family that they had 10 kids, but it was from previous relationships and stuff. It was crazy. They were so nice, so cool. And we saw a lot of homes together. And there was one where we saw it online and it looked perfect. There wasn't really many pictures of like the exterior or like the backyard or anything, but the house was the right price, the right location. It was going to work. It looked really good. Everything was lining up. And we go there and I open the door where we walked the whole main floor. It was a one level. We walked the whole main floor. Everything's checking out, looking great. And then I open the back door and I kid you not, I opened the back door to get to the backyard and my jaw dropped, which like literally dropped. I could not believe what I was seeing. And I opened the door and it's just graveyards. It's a graveyard. Headstones everywhere.
All their dead pets in the backyard?
No, they literally back up to a graveyard.
To a cemetery.
A cemetery. Wow. Yes, they back up to a cemetery. And so they've got this small, tiny backyard lot and a tiny fence. The fence is so
At least have a fence that keeps
their
bodies out.
It does. But the fence is so short that the headstones are taller than the fence in most situations.
Okay.
Literally, as far as you can see, hills and hills of headstones. And I was like, oh my gosh, this was looking like the perfect house, the perfect opportunity. What the heck are they going to say to this?
Yeah.
And my heart just dropped. It was totally a nightmare because I've been working for a long time.
Some people might not mind that.
Well, they didn't because they walk out and they just start cracking up. Like I said, they had so many kids. They're like, Halloween is going to be so awesome.
Oh my God.
They loved it.
Halloween people.
So the horror was only a few seconds because I was terrified that all of a sudden this perfect fit was going to not be a perfect fit anymore. And I think for most people, which is why the home was on the market for like 6 months, most people did not like the fact that there was a cemetery behind the house. And
I wouldn't deal with it. I wouldn't want that home, but
too many people are superstitious and believe in ghosts and things. Like it was unreal. I took a picture. I'm going to have to try to find it in my camera roll, but I mean, I kid you not.
Yeah.
Dozens and dozens, if not hundreds of headstones, just as far as you could see. It was
That's
crazy.
wild.
Yeah. Anyway, so, all right, let's lay it, give it to us, Brandon. What do you got for,
So mine was from probably a while back too, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, a listing that I kept getting online leads for it. So people would call in about this property and they all wanted to go and look at it. So the first time that I went and saw it, I looked at it online and I was like, yeah, it seems like a really good home. Mm-hmm. This price is very good for what I'm seeing here. It was like Viking appliances. I mean, just the kitchen alone probably had $100,000 worth of appliances, the stove, the fridge, the dishwasher, all that stuff. Decent sized lot. And I was like, wow, that seems like a really good price. This looks like a really nice home, like too good to be true.
Yeah.
Which I've learned, if something's too good to be true, it is.
Especially in real estate.
Yeah. So the first time I go, I meet these buyers there. It's my first time seeing this home. And I'm like, this is not like what we saw online at all. I mean, the floors, you're like tripping. It's so slanted. This whole home, every room you go in, the floors are unlevel. You go down in the basement. So what it was an old cheese factory built in
this is Wisconsin.
Yeah, this is Wisconsin.
No.
This is like 1830 or 1850 that this structure was built. It was a cheese factory way back when. So you go in the basement and it's like cinder blocks or not even cinder blocks, limestone walls. Like you're in a cave, 14-foot tall ceilings.
Whoa.
There's like water trickling down. You feel like you're in like this torture chamber. Like it's literally just like if you see those dungeons that like in whatever that people like torture chambers. Yeah. That's what this is like.
Wow.
You go into the garage and the garage is caving in. You can see a hole to the outside that a body could like crawl through. That's how bad the structure of this home was. The soil was pushing this like foundation of the garage in. I could have climbed through this to the outside.
Wow.
So the whole home, maybe should have been torn down, but it's looking in pictures because they had just done like those there's cosmetic things with the kitchen
Yeah.
and like some of the bathrooms to where it looks great.
Looks
but you're like,
fantastic.
so people kept calling because the price is just so good for what this home looks like.
Right, 'cause
online.
there's $100,000 plus
Yeah.
of structural.
Yeah, and you would expect, this home to be listed for so much more based on what it looks like in
Yep.
pictures. So I kept getting calls, and I showed it, the first time, and then I probably showed it 5 more times. And I got to the point when people kept calling about this property, I'd be like, I would just tell them up front. I'm like, hey, I don't want to waste your time. Just so you know, the pictures are a little misleading. It's got these issues. It's got slanted floors. It's got a garage that's caving in.
Yeah.
But the not bad part, or the great part about it, is I got so many leads from this home.
Sure.
I ended up from this one home. It was kind of annoying. I'd see people calling in. I'm like, oh, they're asking about that home again. I know they're not going to buy that home because it's crappy, But I think I ended up getting like 8 leads and maybe 4 or 5 closings off this
Wow.
one property. It was on the market for, I think, 3 years.
Oh my God.
But people just kept calling. So it ended up working out in my favor.
You were a pro. You knew it so well. You probably
Oh,
knew it
yeah.
better than the agent did.
Yeah.
The listing agent.
Yeah. So that was mine.
I love it. That's awesome. Yeah. If the price looks too good to be true, it is. Promise.
Absolutely.
It always is. And if it looks like the house is fantastic and the price is 100, 200,000 below what it should be,
There's a reason
because
for it.
there's a structural issue usually.
Every single time.
Which-
And it's
that's a
crazy.
tough
I mean,
thing.
yeah, the buyers see those online and they're like, this is great. And it's the only one in our budget that looks as nice. It's like, there's a reason for it.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. They're not just trying to give you the best deal possible.
No, that's not how real estate works, unfortunately. So, well, anyways, thanks, Brandon, for
Yeah.
coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
This is super fun. Really appreciate your insights, your professionalism, and appreciate you if you tuned in this far. We got a lot of good stuff coming up. We got meeting with Zach Dieter here soon. He's the GHT professional, the mortgage professional we talked about.
Great pickleball player, too.
Great pickleball player.
As yourself are. I'm an
Nice.
amateur still. I'm just getting started.
Maybe we'll have to do a pickleball pod too, because
I would be down for that.
Yeah, I would too. That would be fun. So anyways, we appreciate you tuning in, and we will catch you on the next episode.